Okay, got this going. I finally got everything figured out. So, let's do this. I was up, until about 4 o'clock this morning, really digging because, stuff didn't make sense. Stuff bothers me about this whole Epstein thing. I mean, he was under investigation in 2005. He was convicted in 2008. So 2005, he was put under investigation. 2008, he was convicted. And meanwhile, it was kept so incredibly quiet, and it bugged me because now we're dealing with the whole Alan Dershowitz. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize. If I say something rude, I apologize. This is purely informational, and I just think it's really important to get to y'all. So in a couple minutes, I'm going to flip the screen around, and I'm going to show you what kept me up all damn night. Either way, what happened is this lady filed a suit. There was a libel suit with Alan Dershowitz, and he seems to be involved in a lot of those, but I completely respect the guy. He's awesome. But the libel suit alleged that he sexually assaulted this woman's daughter on Epstein plane or on Epstein Island. And then all of a sudden these flight logs come out with him on it. What's interesting is nobody's asking. They just go, well, Dershowitz was on the plane. He's he's something. You're assuming something. You know why Alan Dershowitz was on Epstein's plane in 2005? Because he was his freaking attorney. He can't say anything. It's attorney-client privilege. He can't come out and defend his good name because he has attorney-client privilege. I mean, it was just violated the crap out of with Cohen and President Trump. But Dershowitz was Epstein's attorney, and he has been barred from discussing anything. He has been slandered. He has been beat down over some BS because he just happened to catch the case. And as I'm going to show you, the case was made and the punishment was made, and it doesn't seem like he did much. He was just a figurehead. He was there. He made some statements, but what I'm going to show you about the prosecutor is going to change everything you see in the news. And it's going to change everything you think about Epstein, Dershowitz, the Democrats, and the Republicans. So check this out. I seriously have probably 40 or 50 windows open. So let's do this. Like I say, son of a bitch. Hold on. Can't believe I just did that. Okay. Sorry. Completely did this. Right here. In March 2005, a woman contacted Palm Beach, Florida. And we've covered that. Everybody already knows that. He ended up getting sentenced to 18 months for soliciting prostitution or something really stupid. Now, okay, wrong one. The prosecutor in the case was Alexander Acosta. Alexander Acosta worked for President Bush. He was assigned to he was assigned to the Civil Rights Division for the Civil Rights Division before being tasked by President Bush and I found it a little bit in June In June of 2005, after this Epstein investigation was started, he was sent by President George W. Bush to Florida to oversee this investigation. He's the one that cut the deal. Here's a statement by Attorney General Alberto Gonzales about the resignation. Date right there. June 10th, 2005. March, April, May, June. 3 months after the Epstein investigation is opened, Alexander Acosta goes to Florida. This guy knows some stuff. I started looking at what's going on. Why weren't we paying attention to this whole Epstein investigation? You start, everything's covered up in the news. And I just happened to pick up a related, don't know. Mexico allocates equivalent to $2.7 million to compensate relatives of more than 300 women killed in Ciudad Juarez since 1993. And that comes from the UN. Big investigation about trafficking, prostitution, all kinds of perversions, and women disappearing. So that was related, but it wasn't really the cover-up. What really was big at this time was, and I found it down here a bit, the bird flu. Bird flu was everywhere. Luckily, then, God forbid, but Hurricane Katrina hit, and it really was monstrous in covering up everything that was going on with Epstein and what should have been in the middle of the eyes of Congress. But when Epstein was in 2005, the 108th Congress doesn't count. 109th Congress was in session from January 2005 to January 7. The 105th Congress were Republican majority. Now, look at this. Epstein is busted in Florida. It's huge. Everybody, they're talking about his black book. Who does he know? He's tied to Clinton. He's tied to the Democrats. He's tied to donors. He's tied to everybody. Yet, a Republican president and a Republican Congress did and said nothing outside of sending, and I can't remember this dude's name, Alexander Acosta. George W. He sent Acosta down to Florida, but everything was kept out. Can you imagine if President Trump was even slightly implicated in this? It would be the end of the freaking world. So I started thinking, telegraph what was going on, same time, and during this whole time, big things were London bombings and bam, bird flu. So even the Brits were being misled on this. H1N1, I remember those scares. Only like 3 people died. Now, what is interesting is 109th Congress is until 7 WW. The 110th Congress there we go. Here's my favorite Congress. Now what happened here, and I gotta start cutting it short, this Congress took session from January 2007 to January 2009. This is a Democrat-controlled Congress with Keith Ellison. Nancy Pelosi is Speaker of the House. Ellison just happens to show up at the time. But this is the time that Epstein is getting sentenced. And this is the time that people are talking, people are trying to figure out what's going on. And this deal that you figured the Republicans would have brought up, well, now the Democrats control it, but we have a Republican president and a Democrat Congress, and yet nobody is even talking about Epstein. But what was allowed to happen was there were some war funding issues. But at this same time, the Democrat Congress who fought Bush on the Iraqi war turned around and I freaking had it. Either way, they set up the ODNI. And the first ODNI was John, this guy. And I'm not even going to butcher his name. But this was our first ODNI that the Democrats so graciously gifted to President George W. Bush. Here's what I really thought was cool. After less than a semester at Harvard Law School, Negromonte joined the Foreign Service. So, he went to Yale and was a member of Phi Epsilon with William H.T. Bush. At Yale, graduates Yale, gets to Harvard, and guess what? You're recruited into the Foreign Service. This was the first ODNI. His sidekick was General Michael Hayden. When Michael Hayden came in, and this is what's cool, he ran the NSA. A great time of trouble for the agency, government analysis. What happened was he gutted the NSA and brought in new computers, new servers, new hardware, brought in everything up to his specs. So this is when we lost control of damn everything. Again, this is a side thing from Bush and Epstein, but this is why they're ripping off our rights. Back to Epstein. So now we know the president knew what was going on. Congress, both sides of Congress knew what was going on. And they're trying to keep this out of the news. Alfredo Rodriguez, who took Epstein's book, who has everything. This man goes to prison because he failed to turn over the book to FBI investigators. He passed away recently. Well, yeah, it's been a couple of years, but he passed away. So where's this book? Where's all the information? Because this guy kept track of everything that happened on Epstein Island. So that's where we're at. Dershowitz was blamed for some crap he had nothing to do with. Epstein is tied to, just as deep apparently with the Bush family as he is to the Democrats. And I'm trying to see, here's another article. My internet is freaking sucking right now. Guess I have some fan club in the 3-letter agencies. Whistleblower gets more jail time for Epstein, and then he dies because while he was locked up, nobody could find his book. So, hey, let's do it. That's how they do it, right? Alright, my internet's freaking blown. Again, Houseman, who kept track of everything, he dies, and nobody knows where this book is. So, that's my little rundown on Jeffrey Epstein. George W. Bush, set up everything with the prosecution. All Dershowitz had to do was just sit there. It was all covered. And my mind is blown that this reaches into our side, or what I thought was our side of the solid back in the Bush days, but this is a mess. God bless, Semper Fi. I ramble, it's bullcrap, I apologize, but I hope y'all found this interesting. Talk to you later.